What's up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flight of Icarus again with MetalTrenches.com, and today we're talking about THERION and their new album Leviathan via Nuclear Blast Records. And hey, if you like to be kept up to date with the best and brightest metal bands and albums from the underground and above, then stick with me by hitting that subscribe button down below. Leviathan is the 17th album from the Swedish symphonic metal forerunners, hot on the heels of 2018's Beloved Antichrist after the 6-year break prior following 2012's Les Fleur du Mal. Whether you're a newcomer to the band or a longtime listener, you'd better strap in because Leviathan is a seriously wild ride and honestly, kind of a mess. My first indication of this was opening track The Leaf on the Oak of Far. All it took was a few seconds in and already I was like,
what the fuck is this?
Here I am ready to be floored by symphonic metal melodies, and suddenly I'm hit with this weird hair metal shit broken up by some admittedly cool choral sections. It's like a warning sign to listeners from the very beginning. THERION are going to do whatever the fuck they want to.
Why don't you get out?
Yeah, pretty much every song on this album comes in a completely different flavor, from cool and classy to batshit crazy. As mastermind Christopher Johnson puts it, we have decided to give the people what they kept asking for. Leviathan is the first album that we have deliberately packed with THERION hit songs. I'm not sure I agree with that word in relation to all of these, but if nothing else, there's certainly tracks you'll remember. Tracks kind of come in clusters for me, the first of which I've dubbed the Dio Tracks. These include Tuonela, Great Marquis of Hell, and Psalm of Retribution. As the label would seem to imply, these come with big, triumphant power metal vocals that Ronnie himself would have been proud of, complete with plenty of classic heavy metal tropes. There's even lyrics about ravens flying to really take things to the pinnacle of cheese. But of course, THERION put their own special signature on all of this, with Psalm of Retribution probably being my favorite of these three, with the awesome duet approach of the verses and layered chorals. Lead singles Leviathan and Die Wellen Der Zeit fall more into the traditional approach to symphonic metal that I expected going into this album. These two also feel kind of like a two-part suite, both with the heavy focus on chorals along with the female leads from the very talented Laurie Lewis. The former also has a really killer guitar solo to shake up the otherwise pomp and circumstance of the operatics, while the latter has a more folky vibe, like a grand Viking funeral procession. Quite stunning, really. It's pretty interesting and honestly kind of funny to contrast the seriousness and weight of moments like this to the sheer goofiness of the opener. It really is all over the place. Eye of Algol and Nocturnal Light also come into the same category with just really cool gothic sounding blasts of symphonic metal goodness. The latter throws in a little Middle Eastern flair to some of its melodies, leading up to one of my favorite vocal high notes on the album. 10 Courts of Du goes for a bit of an Eastern vibe as well, which makes for a cool intro but doesn't quite come together as effectively as a whole song. Then there's Azi Dahaka, which is almost in a league of its own. Certain parts are just pure chugging metal energy, but then there's other parts that sound like some sort of weird church hymn. In the end, like I said, it's a bit of a mess when taken all together. The broad array of styles ends up being both a blessing and a curse in that, on the one hand, it further showcases the band's versatility and broad scope of talent, but on the other, it makes the album feel like more of a compilation than a single cohesive product. Arguably, this has been a hallmark of THERION even going back to their earlier albums, but I suppose that's one of the reasons why I've never really gotten into them as much as other bands. It's hard to balance variety with cohesion, but that's a quality that most of my favorite albums have in common that I feel elevates them above the rest. Turning to my scales, I give Leviathan an 8 for enjoyability. There are certain moments that truly take me to another place with these stunning vocals, especially from Laurie and the larger choral arrangements, but others leave me kind of scratching my head. Different strokes, perhaps. I give it a 9 for musicianship. On a similar note, those vocal arrangements alone deserve recognition in terms of both songwriting and performance, but really all of the instrumentation shines here regardless of stylistic direction. And I give it a 9 for innovation. Regardless of what else you may think of this album, there's no denying its uniqueness. I doubt I'll hear another one this year quite like it, and I always feel like that deserves extra recognition. So yes, a mess, but a beautiful mess. Not something I see myself coming back to regularly, but one that I certainly will remember, leading to a somewhat confounding B+ overall for THERION and Leviathan. Get it once more via Nuclear Blast Records. Y'all, thanks as always for watching, and let me know down in the comments what did you think of this album, and what is your favorite THERION album that maybe I should check out. And hey, stick around because I got plenty more videos coming right after this one. Full album reviews, interviews with bands on the podcast, tier lists, you name it, we've got it. So plenty of reasons to stick around and subscribe if you have not already. Also chat with us on the Discord and support on Patreon. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.